So a very good evening to you wherever you're listening to us from. Karibuni sana. This is the first time Boys Club, JGKM and I met together, and I'm really excited about this because we thought that on this day where we're celebrating mental health, and we want to, especially celebrate the men in our families, our fathers, our brothers, our cousins, our teachers, our mentors, etc. But what better way than to celebrate with gentlemen? Being a guy in Kenya, being a guy is generally a very difficult place to be. And today we want to help so many people demystify the role of a gentleman in society and how men are supposed to deal with mental issues. But before we do that, I'd like to take this opportunity to just introduce myself. I think my name is Lotan, and we are here at the JGKM Foundation, Josiah Gadura Karaoke Foundation, Memorial Foundation. And why this foundation was started is because in May 2017, the life of a particular family was changed forever. And I wouldn't say it was changed for the better, because on that particular day in May, they lost their son to suicide. And they say that, we never want any other family in the world, or rather in Kenya, or within how far they are able to reach, to go through the same feeling, or rather what they felt. So today we want to pay respects to Josiah, and probably somebody that that probably took their own lives. And with that, we'd like to take a minute of silence just to remember everybody that, through difficult situations, committed suicide or were not able to hold on just a little bit longer. And when we come back after that 1 minute, we'll definitely start the show. All right, thank you so very much. And to every family that has mourned, we want to say pole, and we wish you a speedy recovery, if I can say that. So with me on set, the serious part is actually done. I have 3 other gentlemen that I think are super cool, and I'll start with Mike Wachira. He is a DJ, he's a lawyer, he's an entrepreneur, he's a family man. He has a radio show, he has a TV show, he does everything else apart from probably take money from people. This is Mike Wachira. Mike, karibu sana.
Asante sana. Thank you, Lotan.
Thank you for being here. Okoju niko na Rixpoet. Rix is a poet. He's an entrepreneur. He's a speaker. He's definitely one man that has a story that I want you to sit on tight, or rather hold on there, because you want to hear this particular story. He's a gentleman. He's very calm, but very vocal when it comes to issues, when it comes to mental health. And I'm really excited to have you. Rix, karibu sana. And then finally, I have the man himself. When I was growing up, by the way, this man, we used to call him the king. I wanted to be like him when I grew up. But I have...
used to.
Yeah. Juliani.
not the king.
Used to be the king.
Used to.
Oh, sorry. He's still the king of the street. All the way from Dandora. And man has... he has record albums. Something fresh is coming from the kitchen very, very recent, very soon rather. And this man, I mentioned awards mob. Ni entrepreneur, ni motivational speaker, ni kila kitu bana. Juliani manze, karibu sana. Thank you so very much for creating time to be with us. Wase itakuwa very free, very independent, na itakuwa very casual, because I want us to talk to people that are listening to us from home.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Ningetaka tu to break the ice in terms of when you think about men and mental health. What's the first thing that comes to your mind, guys? Mnafikiria gani? What's the first? Mike?
I think, when you talk about men and mental health, it's a very touchy subject, because the way men are raised, we're raised to, not to show feelings, not to show any emotions, not to talk about the problems that we have. Mwanaume ni kukaa ngumu, you can't wezi lilia mwanaume mwingine. As a matter of fact, most people, even if you think about your own social circles, it's very often there are very few people that you can talk to about real problems that you have. And I find that really sad, because if you're thinking about your kind of circle that you have, if you're not advancing each other in terms of growing mentally, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, there's no growth pattern within your circle that way, then you should change your circle. You should look for other friends.
But you see, I mean, how we're all brought up is hata ukioko nje manze msaki kuchapa ngumi. Juliani amenichapa ngumi manze. Juliani anaanza kusema wewe niaje unalia ka demba na unajua. And I'm looking at it from the perspective of, is it the problem how we were brought up, or is it the problem that we're in a society that has really changed?
But socialization has got everything to do with it, you know, and exactly what you said. Like when kids are growing up, what are the socialization, factors that are there in the environment where they're growing up? You know, your dad or your mom, in fact, your dad will probably tell you, you know, you know, you can't play with certain toys, you can't dress in certain colors, you shouldn't talk about your problems. So that's something that is ingrained in your psyche from as you're growing up, and that forms your idea of masculinity, that this is what it means to be a man. A man suffer in silence, you just go hustle, unajua, never talk about your problems, just keep it in you because you're a man. You should never be seen to show weakness.
100%. And I'm looking at it from the perspective of masculinity, like you mentioned, and I want to bring in Rix. Suicide Kenya ni normal. It happens across both genders, but kwa wanaume manze, it's a little bit high. If it's not significant, it's slightly high. And you've been in and around the mental health space for quite some time. What do you think is the problem? Is it that men are not talking? Is it that men have no outlets for stress? Is it that men have weaker mental capacity? What do you think?
It's a lot of things. Kwanza kuna research ilifanywa na I think WHO, and it was seen that suicide rates in Kenya go up during elections, nearing elections.
For real?
Yeah, like a lot of guys kill themselves nearing elections. Mostly because there is a lot of political instability, wase wana lose jobs, uko worried about familia yako, and things like that. So many instabilities happening around this year. That connected to the fact that EU socialization, Mike anasema, chali unafaa kuwa ukigrow. Actually, from my own researches, I realize the moment Lotan ulitoka kwa umbi ya Masako, wakaona huyu jamaa kwa hivi ni boys, kuna script yako ushaekewa. That you're a guy, if you're a woman, there is your script. Society inasema hivi ndio unafaa uishi. And for most guys, as far back as I can go back in time, I see that our bodies were being groomed for tough life.
Kangu.
Na hiyo tough life ni nini? Hiyo tough life ni industrialization. Hiyo tough life ni unaenda huko kutafuta kujulisha familia yako, but huko nje pale unaenda kutafuta pia unatumiwa. Una get? So niki go back to the time slavery ilikuja Africa, 7th century, all the way to colonialism, 18th, 19th century. Hiyo time yote watu walikuwa wanatumiwa sana ni maboys. They were taken away from their homes. Ikabidi waende kwa maforest kuhaso nini. So mamadha ndio waliachwa home kukua baba na mama na farmer na kila kitu. Kazi yetu ikakuwa ni kwenda kuhaso. So time ikafika tukaget independence. Tukiget independence si ati tuli go back to who Africans were. Urbanization ikakam. Aya, sasa hiyo post-colonial time kufika, kukakuwa na a lot of rural urban migration. Kwa nini? Ilibidi sasa job ni kuwork kwa city. Unaona?
So nimetoka Ocha.
Nimeacha familia yangu Ocha, sasa siendi kwa fore ku fight. Fore imekuwa city sasa. Tunaenda kusaka job. Unaona? So definitely upbringing yangu na venye political na economic status imekuwa systemized. It's for my body to be used by a richer man before me, you know. So if I'm grooming you to work, I'm gonna do as much as I can to condition you not to be in touch with your feelings. Because the moment umeleta emotions, utaanza kuona na kunyanyasa, hauta work. Na get? So iyo part pia they na lead machali, because we are not in touch with ourselves, we over rely on women to do that work for us. Emotional labor for us. No, we rely on women for sexual pleasure. We want to control women because they look like they're the softer ones. We've been socialized to think they're the weaker ones. So it's because we are not in touch with ourselves. most of the time tuseme tuko kwa kampuni ya job.
Yeah.
Mkenya tu ordinary. Sini maboys tumetembea kutoka wherever tumefika job. Place tunafika working conditions tayari tu ni hard. You know, struggles zetu ndio vitu zinatuleta pamoja. But we don't really talk about the internal struggle of the me as a guy. You know, like we all know we are going through a lot of shit with our families, with this work we are doing here nini. Yeah. But ni rahisi tukunywe tukaenika tumesahau hiyo story so that the next day tutoke. You know, so it's a lot of many things in between. So the fact that your silence una grow up nayo, it is not healthy for your mind as a human being.
Interesting, because babu, hata before niende kwa Juliani, you have a very unique story. I don't know if you mind sharing, and I've heard it so many times. How, I mean, from basically how you were brought up and the challenges that you faced. Would you like to tell us about?
There are many. Which
about you, your dad,
sure,
and
okay.
How everything was when you were growing up.
So my father was really violent at home, and he came from a polygamous family. Grandpa alimarry mademu watatu na wawili walikuwa my sisters. And budangu
na title ule.
Nafaa kwa mama.
Lord of the jungle.
Boys alikuwa soldier. So na hizo time that was the life anyway for a lot of guys, you know. But now what happened with my father, he picked up a lot of trauma from his village. Their father was also very violent. And violence yake ikuwa jokes. Ilikuwa ule boys alikuwa akiingia village hivi hapo na kibakora, anapiga kila kitu anaona. Kama ni kuku, mtoto, kijana, msichana, anafagia. So people, yani unaimagine wewe unaingia, unachekelea wakati tunasemanga mzee ameingia mtaani, kila msee anaskata. Now imagine a village. A village of 30 children and all that mayhem. Kila msee anaskata. Ilikuwa hiyo design. Na alikuwa anarushia wasee vitu, anapiga mama zao ile mbele ya watu nini.
Alikuwa soldier.
He was a soldier before. So, you know, these guys didn't pick that up. Like, you know, he fought in the Second World War. Na hizi stuff ni mimi nilikuwa ninaenda kutafuta baadaye kuangalia connections gani zinaweza kuwa zilikuwa back then. Nikapata, you know, when he came back from the war, he wasn't the same person. They couldn't, you know, pick that up, like, you know, post-traumatic stress, PTSD. So jamaa alikuwa off. You know, the war didn't stop being in his mind, basically. Yeah. So I'll struggle sana na alcoholism. In fact, that's what killed him. So nearly all his kids just followed by that, you know. And mostly my uncles now and my dad, they just picked that up. The violence and the alcoholism and all that. So budani leta tu stuff home. You know, tulikuwa tunago mse alikuwa ananibeba ananitupa kwa ukuta. Ananikanyaga na yani nikana anaua dogi. You know, siku moja hata akanichoma mkono hapa hivi ati sijui alikuwa anafikiria nimeiba books sijui nini.
Kuchoma.
So hiyo trauma ilikuwa, and I was 10, 11, 12. It was crazy. It was really, really crazy. And I had to look for a world within me to survive. You know, so for me, I picked music and poetry. So again, at that time, like hip hop was such a big thing. So hip hop was for me, like listening to hip hop was the nearest thing to somebody else discussing something that I could relate to. I
couldn't hip hop ni violent pia.
And I check well,
yes. I mean, yeah, but hip hop is violent, but it also gives you it's an opportunity for expression, yeah?
Yeah, it was violence that I was seeing I could relate to. You know, like I saw unabonga juicy stuff na pia unabonga jua Kenya una feel about your stuff. No, R&B couldn't give me that.
R&B wapi?
You know, and that time pia like I wasn't so close to reggae as much as I am now. So hip hop was the nearest thing, and that's what made me survive. In fact, by the time now I was in my teenage life, this is around now 2003, 2004, people like Kina Isa coming up, Uko Fulani are coming up, 25.
Asitaje Isa hapo. Okay, ile argument.
We used to listen to this guy when he still had a bald hair like me. And he was a big inspiration. I never even thought I'd ever get to know Juliani this closely. And those were very serious years, because 16, 17, you're really looking for yourself. Stuff mobs na happen around you. Alafu mzaya na kupressure, una fail exam. Chuo. Maze, alafu mwili yako pia iko excited, unataka kujuana na madem, sijui nini. As in, it was just a mess, Yeah, so for me, writing and poetry was like my way out. And then the fact that, because in my village, unacheki in Luo culture, chali mpaka ujenge keja kwa boma yako, simba hiyo, ndio uende kwa boma yako. So mi manko zangu so walikuwa wamejenga, hata wenye walikuwa memari wamejenga kwa hiyo boma. So nilikuwa nashanga, how come is it that my aunties cry more often than my uncles? I never used to see my uncles' tears. And my aunties looked like they were sad most of the time. And then as I grow, I'm seeing the same violence that Buddha anapea Martha, my uncles zangu pia wanapea their wives. And now my cousins are also growing up with the same trauma. Tuko wengi by the way. So imagine 30 kids, hao ni watoto grandchildren wangapi. Mimi makuzo wengine hata sijui majina zao by the way. We are so many.
But you're all in the same toxic environment.
I think I think the first issue that we had always is branding it. We always want to brand it toxic, or we always want to brand it bad. So in a manner we have concluded and we don't want to further interrogate. The difference between when I'm to Mingine is I will interrogate. So I'm picking up from what you say, toxic. So me, when we're growing up, it was, you live in a society where, and I'll mention system earlier, you live in a system that, a society where you need to be a certain way to survive in that.
True.
And in that space. So it has, because we are survival, we survive. We acquired whatever skill to survive in that space. If a hug could get you money, you'll hug everybody. Because that's what gets you results.
True.
So when we started up your project, Young and Rixpoet City, we had the biggest hurdle I had wasn't to get people to see themselves for who they are. The biggest problem was these guys, into a conflict resolution, ni vita, because that's how they know. That's how you acquire back your power. So
program divo.
So normally how do you take back your power? You take back your power by no or yes. So if you invited me for this, I'll tell you yes or no. That's how I take back my power. But Komda or another version of how do you take back your power. So when msana could disrespect, I may disrespect identity yako. So how do you take back your identity?
Through violence.
So anything that you talk about, I feel yani kwangu ni two things, ni definition and identity. So nowadays when people react, I don't want to define it first. I want to understand it more. I don't want to define it as toxic. Because rightly you may put, yani ungepiga story ya Waldo or whatever nini, ingekuwa tu jamaa pia na issues. But sasa yako na issues tuna understand. Na baba yako tunajua ana issues because huyu jamaa ajui kukatia manzi. Ingekuwa like mimi, okay, hii story personal, but manzi amekaa kwambie sema. For me, kindness get a lot from me than any other thing. So if you're a kind person and you're kind to me, you get a lot from me than if you try to fight. You come so.
But Juliani, umegrow mtaa. Unajua mimi hata nikiona mabest wa mtaa, yani kali, unajua mgumu, yani hata kuna hii perception imecreatea that kata ni boy, yani the way hata kuomba kitu ni ile unanipea ama nichukue. Unajua tulikuwa tunaambia kwa zamani ukienda F before toko ulikuwa unazunguka, unajua so anachukua viatu anakuchuna, unajua. So I'm now thinking hii kindness imeanza saa hii ama ni kitu ulikuwa nao tangu kwa mtoeni ile ilikuwa imesuppressiwa?
No, ni venye like I told you, it was a way of survival. Kama sasa hii kuna jamaa fulani anapiga story juzi ati jamaa alikuwa anakatia manzi yake And niliona Terence akifanya pia katika manzi yake. Huyu jamani jamaa street unaona. So unajua katika manzi unafaa kujibu nyenyekea.
Unatulia
Humble African. Huyu jamaa alikuwa anasema unajua mimi nakulove. Mbaya sana. Unajua mimi nakulove. So I was like so everything you do is violent and that's how you get things done. So for me later when I'm interacting with people more and I'm like wow. Violence will never like literally nikitaka do yako ukatae kunilipa on time lakini Alena zaidi ya mziki walikuwa nakaa nani wameokoka wanakaa wanabeba makibo
utajua
yeah, but you see that's your language of negotiation.
Exactly.
You are a product of your environment.
Don't know any better unaona
unajua wengi the only way ndatoka na pesa yangu
because first of all you attach everything to your identity. So msaki kufanya kitu unaona nakudharau. So it is I just separate two issues. Kuna ile ameifanya juu anaona wewe ni mnyonge. Wewe unadhani wewe si mnyonge ndio anakufanya. So it's always attached to identity. So every time you see people being violent and whatever, even men. You go imagine a man anatoka kwa hawa asubuhi 5 a.m. Ametrek mpaka Inda. Ameingia na piga na mwindi. Ajalipo on time. Anarudi home amenyesha mzee ametaka mwagia maji kwa drive akamwagia maji akamspashia maji akafika home hata maji ya kuoga hakuna na mimi ni dharau sana kwa yule
so amechukua hiyo
so the weakest link na naipa sijuazi pato jamaa ndani jua tanda jela haizi pati muhindi jua tajela
anajua kesho
the closest person ako hapo hivyo ni nani
we friends
right
you know what Juliani is saying is really important and it's not just even just about how men react to the immediate environment. If you think about it right now, even Kenyans in general, one of the reasons why we are such a frustrated society is because we can't punch up at the people who we perceive are causing these problems that we're in right always. Now. You're not going to go and start punching, I don't know, the president and I don't know. So who do you punch? The people who are around you or the ones who are below you? You know, those are the only outlets where you can let out your frustration. And when you talked about something really interesting, which is conflict resolution.
Yeah.
You know, if that's the only way you know how to resolve conflicts externally and even internally, then you're going to implode at some point because it's not sustainable. You can't go fighting everybody on the streets. Yeah, you go and fight a guy with a gun will shoot you. You go and fight a cop who will kill you. You go and it's not sustainable. You know, but we are not shown as men ways in which you can resolve external and internal conflict in a value-adding way.
Yeah, because I wanted to use that to bring it to my next point in terms of, I was telling you guys that I have never been told I love you by my dad. And my dad has never assured me that, I'm actually the best version of myself.
Let me ask you, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
At home, did you ever see your parents fighting?
Yes.
Did you ever see them resolving that conflict?
No.
There.
I actually never saw that because they would go into a room and probably come out happy, or then you'd probably see your mom crying in one corner. Then it's just because she has nobody else to talk to, and immediately you see your dad, he'd walk out and probably go to the bar for hours. And this brings me to a story. I remember 2011, so I'd gotten this opportunity when I was in campus to go to the States. So my mom is at the airport, my mom is hugging me and I'm like, mzee kapo. I mean, take care, Later, you get my dad Kujad. My dad just told me one thing: don't get a chick pregnant. And I wondered.
That's the only thing he told you.
Yeah, of all the advices you can give me in the world.
Break down your statement.
Statement inamaanisha. Ni break it down niambie niaje mzae. Manzi ukiona ngori. Manzi nivutie. Unajua that's what you mean.
Like unasema mimi nakulove.
Unajua nipe hug niambie niaje. Manzi enda huko ni pray. Unajua nipi. And I know this is an issue for most of us. And I want to put it in the room. Wewe mwaisikia mzee wako akikwambia Nakulove?
No, okay, my dad passed away when I was about 14. Yeah. But I mean, I remember my dad being very loving, but not in a very affectionate type of way.
Yeah.
Parents of our generation, when they loved you, when they wanted to show love, they paid the electricity bills and brought meat.
But you live in the same house.
Yeah, but that, you see, you can only be a product of your environment, and that socializes you. So if he didn't go through that sort of experience, that is the way he knows how to express love. That is according to him, he has expressed love. He has enough love. You know, he'll cook on Sundays, he'll take us out to Uhuru Park or wherever. You know, that's that expression of love that he knows. You only know what you know.
I mean, I can take that. Juliani, wewe mtaa huko hivyo B.
No, mimi sikuambiwa, nastaki kuambiwa. Hiyo ni weakness, bro. That's not what minimum.
No, it's not weakness. It's different expressions of love,
affection,
and affection.
No,
yeah.
I'd love to ask him, why does he think it's weakness?
Yeah, why do you think it's weakness?
No, there we go.
No. Say Juliani, I told you. Say Juliani, Juliani, man. Juliani, you're an amazing artist. I love you, bro.
So amazing artist tuko sawa.
Amazing artist cover you.
Yeah, because is back in definition. The definition of what everything is, you know. So for me, I told you there's a forum we're at, and then realize the reason why all of us started saying love or started defining urbanization as having roads and having all this is because that's what we were brought for. Walami walitoka hivyo so popular zile tuliwatch zote vitu zote tuliwatch was conditioned to us that sisi tunafaa kuangalia life this way, and yet sisi our health system, the way we used to do our traditional health system worked, the way we used to community setup worked, unaona. So me, I'm against anything that was brought, not because it's bad, because it's not mine, it's not what I built up on to eventually create, unaona. So nowadays I don't even define when I look at my parents, I look at the people in my community, I don't fault them in a way, because I feel like we moved on so fast, demanding so much of them, yet kila kitu kwao ilikuwa tu ni bombarded na they have to behave a certain way, unaona. So for me as a man sahi, ukiniambia ukinikotia lyrics zangu zile hakuna mtu mwingine ame-understand, bodo mwene low,
that's the way of showing love,
which is absolutely fine, because
I understand that,
you know, it's a very subjective thing. It's not homogeneous. It's not that all in a constant. Because all of us must. This is the standard of showing love. No, if for him that's what makes him feel validated and makes you feel appreciated, I don't have to. If I can make you feel that way without saying I love you, it's okay.
See, Mike, you guys are probably in the same spot. I'm not too sure if.
Apana wewe unasema love.
No. If I quote Juliani's lyrics to him and I tell him, man, that song, your song badili nipeleka mahali. That to him is
I understand.
Love.
I'm just thinking about passing it down to the next generation. You have a family.
Yeah.
Do you tell your kids I love you?
Every day.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
You probably have a family.
Yeah.
Would you tell your kids I love you?
I have a daughter.
Yeah. Would you tell your kids I love you? Would you tell your daughter I love you?
Okay.
No.
Nisikize. I don't see yes no answer. Like, okay, let me give you an example. So juzi nilikuwa na hang out na mtu, siko na madhara. So we're chilling. Siko manane. No siko manane. Like kitu
imagine
7. Chilling, nimecook hapo, yani nime present, yani tuko tunaduma WhatsApp, we are joking nini, tunaanza, and then nini like a flick akasema I miss my mommy. From hapo hata hiyo chakula yangu akaichuja whatever. So the idea is to try to get her to
the moms
the asilia, because I'm here for 15 minutes, you know. So mimi nika feel rejected, you know, and like I'm joking, but I felt like in a normal situation, if I was put in this position, I would have reacted differently from how I reacted.
How did you react?
Huh?
How did you react to that?
I understood from a place of, I came from a place of understanding.
Right.
So she's first of all, she's a female, for lack of a better word, and she's a child. She's a 65-year-old.
Okay, yeah.
Unaona, there's a way and I react to things the way kuliko. Unaona, otherwise ningesema, "Aya, pande wewe kwani unataka mama yako kila siku?" Unaona, I would have reacted different. So what I'm trying to say is this: is that yes, naambia mtu wangu I love you, and I try as often as possible. But also, I'm trying to look at other ways that
showing the affection,
of showing that, and not action more. It's not based on what I've been told over and over to be doing. That will make my daughter be and akiambiwa na boy mwingine huko nje, because we always say it because tuliambiwa akiambiwa na maboy huko
ataingia
box. No, I want to be wholesomely. How do I interact with this human being that eventually create our own way of life? So if you saying I love you consistently will get her to figure out life, her work. But I want her to be in a position in the next 15 or 20 years. She's figured out herself how to look at life and interact with life.
Interesting. Sometimes you feel like your life has hit a wall. Like it can all come crashing down. Everything seems stark, bleak, dark, and probably hopeless. You don't know what to do or where to turn. Hi.
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 I've been there.
I've tasted the darkness.
And I know how it feels.
This black hole that you can't seem to escape from.
I just want you to know that it's not all lost.
No matter what it feels like.
There's help. There's hope.
And you're never alone.
Remember, it's okay not to be okay.
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 It's okay not to be okay.